Hi, I'm Laura Days and welcome to Cooking Days, Feasting Nights. Tonight we're going to start with one of my favorite family recipes, which is for chili. This is a family recipe that's been passed down to me from my father. We're going to start off with some basic ingredients. You're going to need to have an onion, some garlic, chili powder, diced tomatoes, baked kidney beans, and ground beef. So let's get started. The first thing you want to have on hand is an onion. And the best way to start is to chop your onion and dice it into small pieces. The easiest way to chop an onion is not to go all the way through, but to cut basically where your lines are and let this back part hold everything together so that when you actually go to slice things off, the whole thing doesn't fall apart. Don't worry, we'll cut that part afterwards. Turn the stove on now. We want the onions to kind of heat up a little bit, but I'm not putting anything in here other than the onions, so I want them to release their natural juices. We want them to get a little translucent, but I don't want them to burn. I'm setting it about medium right now, and that's probably about medium to medium high is as high as you want the onions to go. I'm going to keep the rest of this onion on hand for later because we will probably end up using it as a garnish. The next ingredient that goes in here is the ground beef. I'm going to take a minute now and wait for the onion to cook a little bit, and then we'll add the beef. So now the onion is getting to be translucent, and we want to add the ground beef to this mix. The easiest way to do it is just to break it up with your fingers. You want to have small little pieces. While we add the beef, it's starting to cook a little bit, and it will release some of the fat into the pan to help things cook. While that's great for flavor, we are going to drain off some of this so it doesn't get to be too fatty. This is a great technique to learn for a lot of recipes. I can think of at least 3 or 4 recipes that start off with basic onion and ground beef as your starter. But once you master this technique, you can make a lot of different things. It's a good base to make American chop suey, to make the bottom layer of shepherd's pie. Having a pound of ground beef in your house can be very helpful if you are looking for a quick idea for a recipe for a weeknight dinner. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands and then we're going to stir this around and I'll be right back. So the ground beef is cooking and I'd just like to show you what it's looking like. I'm going to make sure that I have the heat turned up a little more just to make sure that the beef cooks all the way through. You want to make sure that you don't have any pink left at the end of this stage. Also going to use this opportunity to break up any big clumps of ground beef that still remain in the pot. I'm just getting my garlic ready, and that's going to be the next thing that we're going to deal with. I'm going to drain off some of the fat now. As you can see, the meat is all brown, and now there's quite a bit of liquid in there, which is primarily fat. It gave us some flavor, but we don't want all of this to be in our stew. So I'm going to turn the heat off for now, and I'm going to drain the fat, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So the next main ingredient that needs to go into this recipe are 3 tablespoons of chili. I know that sounds like a lot, but chili powder will spread out through this dish, and it's the primary flavoring in here. Depending on how much heat you like, this might be enough. If you like things to be really, really hot, you might consider adding either some more chili powder or adding some Tabasco sauce, or my husband even will sometimes add a couple of squirts of sriracha sauce to this. And I want to mix that chili powder in so that it coats all of the beef and all the other ingredients. When it's done, it should look pretty well coated, just like this. The next ingredient in the chili is garlic, and I'm not going to add a lot. I just want to have enough garlic in here to give it a little extra sweetness. Best way to peel a clove of garlic is to whack it on the side with a nice flat knife and then peel out the actual clove of garlic from inside there. I also tend to cut the butts off because they get a little hard. And you don't want a lot, just a little bit should be enough. I usually only put in 1 clove. Right now, you might be noticing some of the most interesting things about this recipe is what's not in it. The purpose of this recipe was to boil it down to something that was simple but tasted really good and had all the essential flavors. I don't like putting green pepper or certain other items in here, but you'll notice that the next ingredient that we add adds a lot of flavor and a really interesting twist. The next 2 and the last 2 ingredients that are going to go into this chili are diced tomatoes, and I have a can right here, and this is a 14.5 ounce can. Anything that's roughly this size is fine, but I would use plain diced tomatoes. Don't go out and buy something that has Mexican seasonings or Italian seasonings, because plain tomatoes will be enough. The last ingredient, which is also the secret ingredient, are baked kidney beans. So a lot of people will put in normal kidney beans in their chili. I am a big fan of getting baked kidney beans because they have some of that brown sugar and that sweetness already in them. And that will give your chili a nice sweet flavor to go along with the heat from the chili powder. I'm going to turn the heat back on the stove, but not too high. And I want to mix everything in. So as you can see, we have our tomatoes, we have our beans, beef, onions, garlic, and chili powder. And that's basically it. The beauty of this dish is that you can start it when you get home, get everything together, and now it's just going to sit. Basically, you want to cook it for at least a half hour, but the way you'll be able to tell that it's done is because right now you can still see the beans and you can still see the tomatoes. You can see the red in those. You'll know that this is done because everything will turn this gorgeous gravy-colored brown. So we're going to take a break and go work on something else. and then we'll come back to check and see how the chili is doing. So while this is cooking, we're going to get some cheese shredded and ready to go. And so those of you who are still dumbfounded by that last ingredient of baked kidney beans, the place that you're going to find that in a New England grocery store is right in the same area as the regular baked beans and the brown bread in a can. I don't know if you can get baked kidney beans outside of New England, but once you share this recipe with people, you will find yourselves mailing cans of baked kidney beans out to your friends across the country. My brother lives in Washington, D.C., and I still have to go to the grocery store and buy cans to bring down to him when I visit. Right now, I'm just shredding up some cheese, and then the next thing we're going to do is chop some more onion, and these are going to be our two main garnishes for the chili. Things are slowly simmering away over here. The key to the chili is to make sure that it doesn't burn. You want to come over and stir it every once in a while, just to give it a chance to move things over, move the juices over, but most importantly, you don't want it to burn. So for cheese, I'm just using a very basic Monterey Jack. Depending on how much spice you like, you could use a pepper jack in this, but I find that using cheese as a garnish is kind of a way to minimize the heat, sort of mitigate it a little bit. When you're going to shred a soft cheese like this, you want to use a grater that has wider holes in it. This is the easiest way to get these cheeses shredded. If you have a grater that has much smaller holes, that usually is more designed for a hard cheese like a Parmesan. But this will allow you to have nice big bits of cheese. You can always buy pre-shredded Monterey Jack, but I think that it comes out a little fresher if you do it yourself, and it's certainly less expensive. So we are just about done with our chili, and I want to show you how great this looks. Can you see the color of that? Isn't that beautiful? So the best way to do this is to serve it in small bowls and top as you like. This is a great thing to make on a weeknight for dinner. This is fabulous comfort food. Or if you get invited to that Super Bowl party or that Cinco de Mayo party, this is a wonderful dish that you can make very easily at home and bring right with you to it. A little bit of cheese, a little bit of chopped onion for texture, and voila. Thank you so much for joining us today, and happy cooking.